You've felt it before, even if you didn't realize it at the time. That moment when someone told you not to do something, and suddenly doing it became the only thing on your mind. They didn't argue with you. They didn't push you. They didn't try to convince you. And yet you changed your decision, not because they forced you, but because something inside you resisted being controlled. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never notice. The more someone tries to control you directly, the more you push back. But when control is hidden, when it's subtle, when it feels like your own choice, that's when influence becomes invisible. Reverse psychology isn't about tricks. It's about understanding a deep, instinctive reaction wired into the human mind, the need for autonomy. And once you see it, you'll start recognizing it everywhere, in conversations, in relationships, even in your own decisions. By the end of this video, you won't just understand reverse psychology. You'll see how it's quietly shaping the choices you thought were entirely your own. Before we go deeper, I want to be clear. Everything discussed on this channel is strictly for educational purposes. Understanding dark psychology is about building awareness, not weaponizing it. If you or someone you know is in a harmful situation, please seek support from a licensed professional. This is a space for growth, clarity, and protection, nothing else. Reverse psychology sounds simple on the surface. It's often described as telling someone the opposite of what you want, so they end up doing what you intended all along. But that explanation barely scratches the surface. Because this isn't just a communication trick, it's a psychological response rooted in something called reactance. Reactance is what happens when you feel your freedom is being limited. Your brain immediately pushes back. Even if the restriction is small, even if it's unintentional, you feel an internal resistance. Let me give you a simple scenario. Imagine someone tells you, you probably wouldn't enjoy this movie. It's not really your type. Suddenly, you're curious. You feel a subtle urge to prove them wrong. You weren't interested before, but now you are. That shift didn't come from logic. It came from your need to protect your independence. And that's where reverse psychology operates. Not by forcing decisions, but by triggering your instinct to reclaim control. Understanding this matters more than you think. Because once you recognize this pattern, you'll stop reacting automatically and start choosing consciously. Layer 1, the illusion of choice. At the first level, reverse psychology works because it gives you something powerful. The illusion that you're in control. When someone directly pressures you, your defenses go up. You analyze, you question, you resist. But when someone suggests the opposite, there's no pressure. Instead, your mind fills the gap. You begin to argue for the very thing they didn't push. Here's how it plays out in real life. Someone might say, "You don't have to help me with this. I'll manage." And suddenly, you feel compelled to step in. Not because you were asked, but because it now feels like your decision. That's the key difference. Direct influence feels external. Reverse psychology feels internal. And when something feels like your own idea, you trust it more. Why does this matter? Because once you recognize this pattern, you stop confusing internal feelings with independent decisions. You begin to ask yourself, is this really what I want? Or am I reacting to something unspoken? But here's where it gets even more interesting. Reverse psychology doesn't just play with your sense of control. It taps into your ego, your identity, your self-image. When someone subtly doubts you, your mind wants to correct that perception. Not for them, but for yourself. Imagine someone says, "You probably wouldn't be able to handle this responsibility." That statement does two things at once. It limits you and challenges you, and your ego doesn't like being limited. So what happens? You step forward. You prove them wrong. You do exactly what they expected without realizing it. This is why reverse psychology often works best on strong-willed people. People who value independence. People who dislike being underestimated. Because the stronger the ego, the stronger the reaction. But here's the deeper insight. It's not about being manipulated. It's about understanding your own triggers. When you feel the urge to prove something, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want it? Or because I feel challenged? That moment of awareness breaks the pattern. Layer 3, emotional resistance. Most people stop at control and ego, but the deepest layer of reverse psychology is emotional, because sometimes it's not about proving anything. It's about resisting pressure. Humans naturally resist anything that feels forced, even if the outcome is good, even if it benefits them. If it feels imposed, they reject it. That's why direct advice often fails. Tell someone what they should do, and they'll hesitate, but suggest they don't need to do it. And suddenly the resistance disappears. For example, a parent tells a child, "You must finish your homework right now." The child resists. But if the parent says, "You can leave it for later if you want," now the pressure is gone. And strangely, the child is more likely to do it. Why? Because the emotional resistance is no longer triggered. The choice feels open. And when people feel free, they move toward action. This matters for one reason. You need to recognize when your resistance is being activated. Because sometimes, the thing you're rejecting isn't the problem. It's the feeling of being controlled. Now here's the part most people never realize. Reverse psychology doesn't actually control you. It reveals you. It exposes how predictable your reactions can be. When your sense of control is challenged, the real power isn't in the technique. It's in your automatic response to it. Think about that. If someone can influence you simply by suggesting the opposite, then the decision was never fully conscious to begin with. It was reactive, and that changes everything. Because the real danger isn't that someone might use reverse psychology. The real danger is moving through life without realizing how often your choices are reactions, not decisions. But here's the empowering truth. The moment you become aware of this pattern, it loses its power. Because awareness creates space, and in that space, you get to choose differently. Not based on resistance, not based on ego, not based on pressure, but based on clarity, and that's where real control begins. Now let's bring this back to you, because awareness only matters if you can apply it. Here are 4 ways to protect yourself from falling into this pattern. First, pause before reacting. Whenever you feel a sudden urge to do something, especially after someone suggests you shouldn't, pause. That moment of delay breaks the automatic reaction and gives you time to think clearly. Second, identify the trigger. Ask yourself what you're responding to. Is it the situation itself, or the feeling of being challenged or restricted? Recognizing the trigger helps you separate emotion from decision. Third, reclaim conscious choice. Instead of reacting, make a deliberate choice. Ask, would I still do this if no one said anything? If the answer is no, then your decision might not be as independent as it feels. Fourth, strengthen self-awareness. The more you understand your own pattern, your need for control, your sensitivity to doubt, the harder it becomes for subtle influence to affect you. Self-awareness turns unconscious reactions into conscious decisions. These strategies aren't about resisting others. They're about understanding yourself. Because once you do, no hidden influence can move you without your awareness. Now I want you to think about this. The last time you strongly resisted someone's suggestion, or felt the sudden need to prove something, was that truly your decision? Or was it a reaction to feeling controlled? Look back carefully, because the answer to that question reveals more about your decision-making than you might expect. Reverse psychology isn't magic. It's not even manipulation in the way most people imagine. It's a reflection of something deeper, your instinct to protect your freedom, even when it leads you unconsciously. The moment you recognize that, you stop reacting automatically and start choosing with awareness. In our next video, we're going to uncover a behavior pattern that hides in plain sight, one that silently shapes relationships, decisions, and even your sense of self without you